Hello everyone, it's Jade from Boho Bookworm. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my August wrap-up part 2. During the second half of August, I actually found a local book club where a bunch of people from the town that I now live in meet up at this pub like once a month and discuss a book that we all plan on reading. And I've never really had a proper book club before, and so I'm just really thrilled that I've finally found that. The book that they chose for this month was Trust Me by T.M Logan. So T.M Logan is an author that I have seen around the shelves when I've gone to like Sainsbury's to get my lunch, or when I've like been perusing the shelves of like Waterstones, but I've never picked anything up by this author before. We are meeting up later this month in order to discuss the book, and I'm just so excited to share my thoughts on it. So in Trust Me, we're following this woman called Ellen who has she's been trying to conceive for a really long time and it just didn't work for her. Her husband and her finally divorced because it broke down their marriage. So she's doing everything that she can to avoid having contact with anyone like babies or mothers of children, things like that. It's just too much of a trigger for her. But then one day she's on the train and she strikes up a conversation with this young mum who then eventually says to her, I'm really sorry, I've got to take this important phone call. Do you mind watching my baby for a moment? So she's like, oh, like reluctantly, okay. It's just supposed to be a quick moment, but next thing, Helen sees the woman like wandering off and she's left with this baby as the train starts to move. She's like, what the fuck do I do now? I did find this book compelling and gripping right from the start. It just really sucked you in. The writing just flowed beautifully. I will say that it's not without its problems. I mean, I would never, I'm not a mother yet, but I'm hoping to be soon. I would never ever leave my child in the arms of a stranger. I would never put my child in the arms of a stranger. So that concept, right off the bat, just threw me off and jarred me. It just was really far-fetched, and there were a lot of characters to kind of keep up with. The instant connection that Ellen had with this mother and her child was just very unbelievable and implausible. There were many faults with this book, but that being said, there was still this level of excitement with this book that I just could not ignore. It had this like cat and mouse element to it that I just found so fun. It did keep me on like tenterhooks the whole time, and I feel like this is kind of the sort of book that you would market as a proper guilty pleasure book, because it's something that you probably shouldn't enjoy because there's so much wrong with it, but I enjoyed it anyway. There was a personal side to this book that I really liked as well, and that is that the author, it must live close by to where I live, because all the places that he mentions throughout the book, Little Missedon or Aylesbury or Amersham, all these places that I've visited and I live really close to, it had that bit of extra connection for me, so I did enjoy that, and I ended up giving this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Then I went on to read The Guest House by Morgan-Bentley. As I mentioned, my partner and I hopefully very soon are going to be having a little baby of our own. I'm not pregnant, don't worry, but you know, it's something that I'm getting excited about. So I obviously saw a book about a pregnancy and it's a thriller, and because I'm just weird, I was very excited to read this. So this book is about Jamie and Victoria. Now Victoria is heavily pregnant, and for some stupid reason they decide to go on a trip while at her last stages of pregnancy to this remote little guest house, and I don't know who in their right mind would actually do that. It's in the countryside, and I guess it's kind of like their little baby moon or something, but when they arrive they realise that this place is a lot more isolated than they had anticipated. The hosts are really odd, and so they get an early night, and come morning the contractions have started. They try to leave to get to the hospital, but the house has been locked up, their phones have been taken, the landlines have been cut. They are locked in and something is going on. The baby's coming, and it's gonna happen in this little guest house by themselves. I would be so petrified. Like, I want a baby so badly, and I'm going to, but I mean, the idea of natural birth terrifies me something silly. I mean, I recently had this surgery that I had to be awake for when they were doing all their stuff they needed to do to get me all healthy and stuff for my female bits, and I screamed in that surgery. It was the most traumatic thing I think I've ever experienced. It took ages to heal. I couldn't do more than walk for over a month. Obviously there was no sexy time, nothing happened, but basically they put this like clamp inside of me. Sorry to get quite graphic here. They put like a clamp inside of me like they do with when you go for like a normal gynecologist appointment. But they left that open, and then they had to do stuff inside, a lot of cutting and things to get cancerous stuff out. Then they basically had to burn a whole bunch of stuff using this looping treatment thing, and basically like burn all my insides and slice things out, like I said. But they inject you first internally with like a numbing thing, so that what's it, I can't remember what it's called, but it's got like adrenaline in it, so that firstly then I started having an absolute panic attack because the adrenaline was too much for me and my heart rate went through the roof, and then I could still feel everything that was going on. It wasn't completely numb, so I started screaming, and my body, like all my stomach muscles, like tightened and gripped around this clamp that they'd got to open up my insides, and basically my muscles had like wrapped around it. And then when it came to actually taking the clamp out, when they were finished, when they'd like done this like silver thing that they do to like create a scab on your insides, my muscles were still wrapped around the clamp, so when they pulled it out, it ripped all of my internal muscles. It was horrifying. So I feel in that respect that that's the closest I could possibly imagine to childbirth, and if childbirth is worse than that, then I am terrified. But I will do it because I really want babies, and I really want Anthony's babies, and I think we'll make really nice babies. Anyway, so the idea of like, you know, this poor woman having to go through contractions and labour with nothing there was just like horrifying for me. So I'm a thriller lover, but lately I've been really enjoying books like historical fiction and contemporary romances. But after a much needed break from the thriller genre, I feel like this was just the perfect book to zap me right back into like loving thrillers again. I think I just really needed that bit of distance from them for a little while, because after reading such dark things continuously for like years on end, I just needed something a bit fluffy and happy in my life. However, The Guest House just blew me away. It kept me on the edge of my seat. I was so invested in the story. The tension, the twists, the scandal, everything was just so good. I love a juicy domestic thriller. I also really liked how all the characters had their own backstories. Jamie had cerebral palsy, I can't say that word, palsy, and Victoria with her whole IVF story. It just made the characters seem really real to me. It had me empathising with them. The flitting back and forth between past and present tense, that was really engaging for me. I found it chilling, thrilling, unputdownable. I loved it. This one got a 4 out of 5 stars for me. So there's some pretty good thrillers I read throughout the last half of August. Let me know if you read any in the comments down below and what you plan on reading for September. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye. Also, sorry about my horrific little surgery story there, but I didn't really talk too much about what went on, so there you go. You're welcome.